Your microphone.
The typical mistake. Thank you,
Yes.
Joanne. That's very typical. So let me just start my introduction again. Hello and welcome to Candidate Forum 2025. My name is T. Adeyemo. I have created content for ladiescorner.ca since 2019. The mayoral forum is tomorrow from 4:30 to 6:30. Please make sure you send your questions and that you're watching right here on our YouTube page at LCC Media One. Today we have a candidate forum. We did send invites to everybody, but we're grateful that Annie and Joanne are here. So we're going to have a very vigorous conversation indeed. At 12 o'clock, we have candidate forum for Taster Winiwak. And we hope whilst you're here, you like what you see and you do well to subscribe as well. So without much ado, we are going to get right into it. We have Annie and Joanne in the studio here with me. Hi, Joanne, and
Hello.
hello, Annie.
Hello.
So, so we didn't toss a coin, we didn't do anything. I don't want Joanne to think I'm biased. I don't know why I would, but who would like to go first? Should we toss a coin? Who would like to go first?
Well, Annie is first in alphabetical order, either by first or last name. So let's go with her.
I like that. You chose peace, Joanne. I love that. All right, Annie, whenever you're ready, please tell us a little bit about yourself, why you're running, where is Sspomitapi? Where can we find that? You have, okay, so I didn't mention it's 2 minutes. It's 2 minutes for introduction and closing. And yesterday we did 1 minute, but if it's just the two of us, we can do 2 minutes every time you answer a question. So 2 minutes. So we get ample time to have a very vigorous and healthy conversation about policy at Sspomitapi.
Okay, hello, and thank you for having me. My name is Annie Chuafrit, and I'm honored to be here today. Not just as a candidate, but as a proud Filipino Canadian, a mother, a community advocate, and someone who deeply believes in the power of local voices to shape lasting change. I came from a place of resilience. My journey began in the Philippines, where I earned my degree in psychology and worked my way up in the freight forwarding industry. More than 2 decades ago, I made the courageous decision to come to Canada under the Live In Caregiver program, leaving behind my daughters to build a better future for them. That experience of sacrifice, of hope, and of starting over shaped everything I stand for today. Edmonton welcomed me with open arms, and I've spent the last 2 decades giving back to the city that gave me a second chance. From founding small businesses to leading community organizations to spearheading the naming of the current Mabuhay Park, the first Filipino park in Edmonton. And I've always believed that when we lift each other up, we all rise. I'm running in this election because I've seen too many decisions made about us, not with us. I want to flip that script. I believe in participatory leadership where residents guide priorities, not just react to them. I want to bring transparency, compassion, and action to City Hall. And when it comes to housing, we need bold, people first solutions. Edmonton is facing a housing crisis, and it's time to treat housing as a human right. My platform includes supporting mixed income developments with affordable units in every new build, cutting red tape for nonprofit creating supportive housing, launching neighborhood action grants so residents can lead their own improvement projects, advocating for income based tax relief so no one is taxed out so much of their home. I believe in building a city where every resident, regardless of background, income, or circumstance, if we have to feel safe, supported, and heard. That's the Edmonton I'm fighting for. Thank you for listening, and thank you for believing in the power of community.
And that's a very powerful start, Annie. Thank you. It's nice to know that you're a Filipina with courage, bravery, and passion. And I hope as we carry on in this forum, we get to learn more about the ideas you have for City Hall. Joanne, over to you.
Thank you very much, T, and thank you for having this forum so that we do have a forum to express our ideas and have a good discussion around what's best for the city of Edmonton and for Edmontonians. So my name is Joanne Wright. I'm running for Ward Sspomitapi councillor again for re-election, and Ward Sspomitapi, the name comes from the Blackfoot. From the Blackfoot language, and it means star person. But what it's representative of is the reciprocal relationship between the land and the people and with one another. And I think I've tried to, in my time on council, working with community, been able to bring people together and to have that reciprocal relationship. So that's something that I have strived for. I've lived in Edmonton all my life, born and raised here, and I'm proud to say that. But I think what makes me even more proud is the number of people from so many diverse communities that have chosen Edmonton to be their home. And what I've been trying to do over my term and previous to that, working or volunteering with the Meadows Community League, is to bring people to get together and connect them. I think with such a diverse community that we do have differences, but I think, and we should embrace and celebrate those differences. But I think we also need to focus on the similarities, the shared values that we all have. I think for family, friends, community, and connecting one another, so that we can bring out the best in each other and the best for Edmonton. I've got a number of priorities that I've been focused on, and things like and I think we're going to discuss in more detail here today, things like public safety and investing in our core services. I also think that we need to find a way to develop more responsibly, and we have to maintain our financial sustainability, because we're not just looking for today, we're also looking for the future. And I think pulling all that together is what helps to build strong communities. Thank you. Mike again.
Okay, I'm just going to leave my mic on now. Well, I just tend to fidget a lot. I'm one of those people, I just keep moving, and then that affects the audio. Joanne, I'm going to start with you. Property taxes, last night we heard it's at its highest. Many people are saying they don't recognize the Edmonton they are in now from the one they grew up in. You are seeking 4 more years. Why do you think we should give you 4 more years if things are harder for us now than they were at the outset of your tenure?
Yeah, the past 4 years have been a challenge, with, recovering from the COVID-19 pandemic, and we're still in a recovery mode as far as I can see. And so I think this council has had a lot of catch up, things like where there wasn't a lot of focus on renewal or maintaining the existing services and infrastructure that we have. So that does come at a cost. And I think what happened in the past perhaps is that enough focus wasn't put on that renewal. So we are, having to play catch up. We've, recently received a report from our administration that we have a $1.8 billion infrastructure gap. Now, that's not something that we need those funds all right now today, but it is something looking into the future that we are going to have to manage. And so this council has created a dedicated renewal fund where a portion of the property taxes, 1%, would be then allocated to that renewal. So that's what I'm talking about. Financial sustainability is making sure that we are planning for the future. And I know that it can be tough on people, for everybody, affordability, and we've all been faced with rising costs, and that's part of the city's challenge as well is that we are faced with the same inflationary costs that residents are, and we only have a few different levers with which to raise those funds. We've seen reduced grant funding from the provincial government, and the other way to raise funds is through fines and fees. And so we have been, looking at where we can raise additional funds that way. And then the third lever that we have is property taxes. And unfortunately, it can only be based on the property value. We have no way of, like with provincial and federal income tax based on income levels, we have no way to assess the property taxes based on income levels. It can only be on property value.
All right, thank you, Joanne. I hear what you're saying, that the city is still is still trying to survive or trying to cope or return back to the way things were before the pandemic, and that there's a big deficit, and there are only two ways in which council can raise the money: through fines and through property taxes. Okay, thank you very much.
And the third way is from government grants, which have decreased over time.
Okay, that's fair. I wrote that down. Government grants. And we're going to explore a bit more, because I'm coming at this because I need a bit more understanding. And I would want you to please be as transparent as you can, because you know what's going on. A lot of us looking from the outside pretty much don't. So maybe when we say things need to be less expensive, and you also just said you guys face the inflationary costs too. Life is, so but I hear you, and we're going to explore a bit more. Okay, Annie, I got one for you. Why do you think you are qualified or experienced or ready to take on this job?
With regards to that question, thank you for that. And I'm ready to do this one, because based on my live experience here in Edmonton, I'm a account technician, and I know in the city there's a lot of budgeting to do, and looking at that one, we need to be transparent in spending, ensuring every dollar reflects to community priorities. And I would like to support protecting frontline services like waste collection, transit, and emergency response, even as we seek efficiencies. And I also wanted to advocate the 0 days budgeting reviews, so we can start from community needs, not the outdated assumptions. What do I mean by 0 based budgeting? Um, I like that traditional budgeting that we're doing, where department starts with last year's budget and adjusts up or down. Zero budgeting starts from scratch. Every program, service, and expense must be justified from the ground up, as if it were, funded for the first time. So how do we have to, practice this? Okay. There will be no automatic carryover. Departments don't assume they'll get the same funding as last year. And every line item is reviewed. We could have staff explain why each expense is necessary, what outcomes it delivers, and whether it aligns with the city priorities. And also, we need to focus on outcomes. Funding is tied to basically performance and the impact and the relevance, not tradition or inertia. So with that, it matters really for Edmontonians. Accountability, it ensures taxpayer dollars are being spent on what matters most, like housing, transit, and safety. It helps identify outdated programs or duplicate efforts that can be restructured or maybe eliminated. And it also allows the city to respond to evolving needs, especially in times of economic uncertainties or shifting demographics. You know, and I could say that, some as someone who run business and manage tight budgets, I know how important it is to start with clean slate. Zero-based budgeting means we don't just fund programs because that's how it's always been. We fund what works, what's needed, and what really reflects the voices of our community.
All right. Thank you, Annie. Right, Joanne, I want you to take us through how we got to the most expensive property tax rise, where seniors are saying they cannot afford the property taxes, they're leaving their homes. How that, because just that increase made you feel that your council were just so out of touch with high unemployment rates, inflationary costs, and it felt really harsh. And you may not even have been part of that decision, but my question is, why should we give you again 4 more years to carry on this sort of harsh policies that make our lives so unlivable? Joanne, could you just talk us through the mindset that went around creating this policy?
Sure. I'm happy to do that because I think it is important for your viewers to understand sort of how we got here. So when the pandemic hit us, the council at the time looked to zero property tax increases, and the way to do that was by cutting some services, things like transit and snow removal. So like I said before, we've had to play a bit of catch up on that and still face the challenges that everybody is facing with inflation. So having to play catch up now, or in the past 4 years, we've also tasked our administration to find savings and efficiencies throughout the 70 lines of businesses that we deliver to Edmontonians. So there has been, substantial savings that have been found. I'm concerned a little bit about the zero-based budgeting because I think that gets into a little bit more of a sort of a micromanaging scenario than the formal sort of governance that a council is to provide. And but so that's why we did task administration, to look for those savings themselves, and they're still doing that. We've had a sort of a realignment in our executive leadership team. One thing that has stayed stable as well is our strong financial management. And just last month, Standard & Poor's actually increased the city's credit rating to a AA plus, and part of that was based on the strong financial management that we do have at the city. So, and I'm a taxpayer too, and I recognize that property taxes have increased, but as I've said, we're trying to play catch up. We've increased transit service, which has had a wonderful positive impact on Ward Sspomitapi residents. We've got increased service out into the southeast. We also have on-demand services. We've used, some of the increased funds to improve public safety. We've nearly doubled our transit peace officers, because that's, I think, very important that people do feel safe when they are traveling on our transit systems. And as I mentioned before, we've instituted the dedicated renewal fund as well to play catch up again and to plan for the future on some of that infrastructure.
Thank you very much, Joanne. Okay. Annie, I hear that you know about numbers. You have a powerful vision for change, and this vision would start with numbers, surely. Now, you've heard Joanne. What new ideas would you bring to clean what this present administration has done? Because Joanne is standing by the record of what they've done. She says it's public safety. Last night, I did 2 candidate forums, and all of them were in agreement that public safety is at the lowest in this city right now. And Annie, what are your own ideas? when it comes to the budget, what would you do differently? Okay, we can't hear you yet.
I'm sorry. I thought I was on. Yeah, that was a good question. Well, as a running candidate for Ward Sspomitapi, um, I heard a lot of people concerned about safety, right? Um, One possible way to lessen crime is to add lighting, more lighting, and cameras, but we need to do some budgeting on that one too. I'm not sure how the city works right now, um, and we'll have to look into some ways how we could budget on those ones because crime has already increased in most part of the city, and you know the funding is like we have to tie it to every performances, and that way it will have a big impact, and it has to be relevant to what the things that we need to prioritize, and we need to, as I've said earlier, um, explain why each expenses is necessary. um, what are those things that we needed to do first? Is it important to do this, or do we need to put a bigger project in certain areas? Crime and safety is very important right now. The increase in this um, crime and safety is not really good for the community, and so um, we need to come up with ideas. We have to ask people, the community itself, because they live in the area. We have to hear them up, um, so that we can get some ideas from them as well, and it should align with the city priorities and a lot of things that like the safety during public transit, drugs going around the city. So many things that we need to tackle when I'm in city council.
All right, Annie, thank you. Right, Joanne, I want you to talk to us about some of the things you've achieved as a council during your time at council, and maybe some of the specific things you achieved for your ward. Okay.
Okay, so for the ward specifically, as I mentioned, we've increased transit service, improved the routes, the scheduling, introduced on-demand service for some of the newer areas. We've also, I think, done a lot of engagement with residents in regards to our Vision Zero traffic safety programs. We've had a number of the neighborhoods, Wild Rose, Laurel, I'm trying to think of all the ones, Jackson Heights, Kaniski Gardens, as a way to help improve traffic safety in the areas by installing, different traffic calming measures. We've, and I think I've led the charge in council to increase some of the funding for these areas, for safe crossings, for more traffic lights, or more, flashing beacons at crosswalks to make sure that things are safe for our community. And with that, like I said, there's been lots of public engagement with residents as to where they saw the pinch points to be in helping to reduce some of the speeding that's going on in our neighborhoods. I think to date now we've had 21 traffic fatalities in the city, and I know last year a large part of, I think the total 24, a large part of those were in Ward Sspomitapi, and so was a concern, and I think we've addressed those concerns or working on it, especially in light of the province removing our ability to monitor using automated traffic enforcement. So we do have a bit of a challenge there, working with the province, and trying to help to try to help us help the residents of Edmonton. Some of the other things that I've initiated was in canceling the Edmonton Metropolitan Transit Commission. Was just an extra layer that we didn't need to help manage transit in the capital region. So our administrations across the capital region are working together, and they were working together already. So we've reduced costs there in having that extra layer. There have been some other items that have come across where we've worked together, especially like on housing, working with the federal government on the housing accelerator funds. And so I'm really proud of the way that this council has accepted that challenge and taken that on, working with our housing action team.
All right. Thank you very much, Joanne. Annie, my next question for you still regards to the budget is, how would you curb wastefulness or waste? It may be kind of hard if you're in a bubble, you may not be able to see. So Joanne may not be able to even appreciate this question. I don't know. But for Annie, one of the comments yesterday was this present council was quite wasteful. Do you agree? And what would you do to curb waste if you get the job?
Thank you for that question. It's really, for waste management, we really have to increase the pickups for some communities wherein we have to be consistent to make sure that even those communities, especially the new ones, have a regular.
No, Annie, I'm sorry, sweetheart. The question was not about waste management. It was about waste within the budget.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
My apologies, I wasn't clear.
Oh, sorry, I probably heard incorrectly. With regards to waste management budgeting, we need to, try to reduce some that are not necessary, and make sure that the budgeting has been we have to come up with it. I'm into the zero budgeting, right? So we don't need to use the budget from last year. We need to make sure that the funding don't go to those that's not needed. We need the fund that works, and we need that to reflect the voices of our community. And so we need to go on a clean slate, meaning to say those things that's not needed. I know I'm repeating this one already. I'm so sorry. I got confused with the waste management earlier. But anyway, with the budgeting, we need to ensure that taxpayers' dollars are being spent on what matters most. And with the waste budgeting, we have to duplicate the efforts and restructure or eliminate something that's not really a priority.
All right. Thank you very much, Annie. We have to leave it there. So over to you, Joanne. I'd like to find out how you communicated and you carried along your constituents. If whatever methods you used worked, Facebook, I don't know, townhouse, I don't know what you did. Could you talk us through what you did? And do you intend to keep that going if you get elected for 4 more years?
Certainly. I did use various means. I did use social media, provided updates as to what was going on in council. I also did a monthly newsletter. I didn't want to do too much more frequently than that, because I know we've got a lot of things coming into our inboxes. But I think the main thing where I was able to connect with constituents, not only in Ward Sspomitapi, but across the city, is attending events, having meetings with different groups and organizations, and bringing people together that way, hearing their voices, their concerns, and then making sure that I was considering those perspectives when making the decisions in council, or in discussion with my council colleagues. And that was a big part of it too, was connecting with council colleagues, and seeing where they were on certain ideas, and bringing forward some ideas of my own. But I think it is really important to make sure that we're listening to all voices. This is quite a diverse ward, and I think that's been the favorite part over the past 4 years, is going out and learning about all the different cultures, and different traditions, and listening to those perspectives. Like I said, sort of in my opening, I think there's a lot of shared values that we have, and so it's helping to connect people together. Emails and phone calls, that's sort of a traditional way of connecting with constituents as well. And so fitting all that in is keeps me a pretty busy lady. But like I said, I enjoy the learning opportunity that comes from it. And I've always been a lifelong learner, and I like taking those shared perspectives and bringing that to the decisions that I make at council.
Thank you very much. So, Annie, if you were given this opportunity, if the electorates choose you, the constituents choose you, how do you intend to communicate with them? Okay, you're muted there.
Oh, sorry. Okay. As a proud Filipina mother and a longtime resident of this ward, I carry with me the values of bayanihan. Bayanihan in Tagalog is a Tagalog word that means the spirit of communal unity and helping one another. Okay. And these values guide my vision for a city that is compassionate, inclusive, and responsive to the real needs of its people. Now, housing is not just about shelter. It's about dignity, stability, and opportunity. And I've seen how housing insecurity affects families, newcomers, and seniors. And I'm committed to pushing for affordable, accessible solutions that reflect the diversity of our world. I also believe in deepening our relationship with some of the indigenous communities, not just through policy, but through respect, listening, and shared learning. And as Filipinos, we understand the importance of honoring ancestry, land, and tradition. So, with these shared values, it can help us build bridges and foster reconciliation in meaningful ways. So, I know Sspomitapi is a mosaic of cultures. It's very diverse, and our leadership should reflect that richness. And I'm here to advocate for better infrastructure, um, budget accountability, and public safety, and a city where everyone feels belong.
All right, thank you very much. Joanne, I've got a question here on inclusion and diversity. Could you remind us of what things or what steps you've taken to foster inclusion in this council, your council, across all communities?
Yes. So actually, our first motion that came about at our inaugural meeting back in 2021 was Mayor Sohi motioned to implement an anti-racism strategy, and recognizing the diverse community that we do have, and of course it was a unanimous decision by all of council. And so with that, we have been able to provide funding to communities and organizations across the board, and also taking the opportunity ourselves to engage with other communities. We do a land acknowledgement, and it's not just something that we check off before each meeting or before each event that we have, but it is something that is, we do connect with the Indigenous community. We've had many meetings and pipe ceremonies and other ceremonies with our Indigenous elders. And I think at every step, we do recognize the diversity of this city. And it does take a lot to engage with all groups and bring that perspective back to city council, and making sure that when we're doing things like an analysis in our reports and engaging with communities, making sure that we're engaging with all communities that are impacted by certain decisions that we're making. So, whether it's, speaking of housing and homelessness, engaging with those that have that lived experience. And, or if we're, talking about, I'm just thinking of a recent discussion that was had in regards to an event center through Oilers Entertainment Group. And one of our community members was interested in using some of that community space that's going to be available in the event center, using that for community events, but making sure that we can also provide, or they can also provide, culturally appropriate food at these events. And not everybody wants burgers and fries, and so that's something that needs to be considered as well.
Beautiful, Joanne. Thank you. We move to housing and homelessness right now. And Annie, you have the first question. Renters make up a large share locally. What is one bylaws or incentive you would introduce to improve rental quality and stability?
When it comes to renting and stability, I've already talked to some people about it, wherein um, there are developments around the city. And I asked one of the buildings and there, how much are they renting the units? They started with $2,200, which I was so surprised to hear so much uh, rental costs lately. And how can people afford those kind of rents? So affordability is really a priority in most areas in Edmonton. I know that based on surveys that we are way lower than the rest of the cities like Toronto, Vancouver, which is way too much. But then, of course, when you rent, um, you have other expenses that you needed to consider. Um, the family is struggling right now around the city. Um, of course, we need to find some ways how we can structure uh, the law when it comes to renting, or probably develop backyard suites, low-rise apartment, or mixed-use buildings, which is much more affordable. Let's say, for example, Toronto, they are starting to develop those so that the newcomers or seniors will be able to afford that. And we need to get fewer bureaucratic hurdles for affordable and supportive housing. And also we need to get a faster timelines, for developers and community projects. Um, those ones, like example, the zoning, rezoning in areas like the 124th Street. Um, I think that's a high density housing near transit is very, very practical, and the mixed use development that will revitalize the neighborhood. And so we have to also involve investors and community builders. And there are so many programs right now, I think, okay, I don't know, uh, the structure really, we have to look into the Edmonton structure of how the bylaws would be, uh, we would be able to restructure that will accommodate for low housing and help our seniors and low income
All right, Annie, thank
individuals.
you. A little out of time, but thank you. Appreciate
Okay.
your thoughts on that. All right, Joanne, over to you. Did your council work on rental control? Did you do any work around rental affordability? If you did, could you tell us what you did and what you think you can do better if you were given 4 more years?
Okay, so rent is based sort of on supply and demand. So what we have focused on, because rent control would be more of a provincial responsibility. So what our council has focused on is increasing the amount of supply of rental properties, and not just rental properties, but actually any type of properties, because if you get more housing out in the market, then people have a better choice whether they want to rent or buy a single family home, whether they want a condo downtown or in a mature neighborhood. And so that has been our focus as a way to help with affordability. Our zoning bylaw renewal, something that has been worked on for about 8 or 9 years, finally came to council back in, and was instituted back in 2024. And I can't remember. I think it was 8 days of public hearings for that, where we heard from all different residents, all different organizations, different perspectives as to, whether to approve or amend the bylaw, or throw it out altogether. And so I think that was a huge step that we did approve the zoning bylaw renewal. And then I think what was a responsible thing to do was we did a 1-year review, and that we just got back in June. And again, we had a number of people come to speak on that. And there was a few amendments made because there was concerns brought forward by residents. And a lot of it had to do with maybe not so reputable builders, concerns that they had on construction sites. And that's not part of the zoning bylaw itself. But addressing those concerns was something that we also looked at. So we've requested some more information from administration as far as enforcement and safety inspections and whatnot. So that'll be coming back to council next year, those additional things. And we did do some amendments to the structure and the design of some of the properties. And so I think that should help to improve some of the concerns that were brought forward by residents as we continue on this sort of evolving journey. And so that's something that we have done. Our city administration has also worked at instituting and implementing automated approval for building permits, and we're the first in Canada to have that. And so if you're building a single family home and there's no variances or anything that you need, you can get approval with same day. So I think that's done a lot to reduce the red tape there. Other initiatives that we've worked on with housing is using our surplus school sites. And if I could have just about 30 more seconds to expand on that, T, thank you. Because I think these surplus school sites have sat empty, just open field, I think since 2009, some of them were declared surplus. So now we're partnering with organizations, nonprofit groups, to build, not just supportive housing, but affordable housing, mixed market housing. So again, and partnering with all these organizations to to try to improve our housing situation, make it even better than it is. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joanne. I appreciate the efforts you put in, your council, put in. It is a critical problem, and I'm happy, I have to say, that you can say you did ABC, and we're, as a city, we're grateful for the work you did in council. It can be easier, and I have to say you could not have pleased everybody, but people are a bit weary as well. People, because of affordability crisis, the prices of goods, you know, people are finding it hard. Unemployment rate is at 12% in minority groups. Like, it's tough, and that is just putting it mildly or nicely. And the next question will, Joanne, you'll take a lead on that. One of the toughest things that dominated the campaign trail in 21 was homelessness. Now, since 21, I know the Hope Mission has stepped up, because I think they got some provincial government. I'm just wondering, homelessness is still a very critical issue, would you think? What are some of your ideas to improve that? Um, to improve the homelessness plague endemic that we have here in the city, if you're given 4 more years?
Well, it's a very complex, challenging situation that we're in, and I think what at a municipal level, we can only do so much. What we have done is, try to, I guess, sort of address some of the symptoms of that challenge. Whether it is providing more transit peace officers to help, monitor people in the transit system, whether it's, opening up our recreation centers and libraries, to help people, get out of the heat or get out of the cold. Also, working with some of the shelter operators, we did try to institute some shelter standards, and but because shelters are a provincial responsibility, we can create standards, but they don't have to be upheld by the province. And looking at our zoning again to allow building of shelters, transitional housing, bridge housing in different parts of our city, to be able to address the needs of the community where the community is, rather than trying to concentrate it all in one downtown area. I think a large part of that is, people are also either connected to their communities. They have family and friends living in their communities, and they just, might have fallen into a situation where they find, housing inaccessible. But I think, so we can try to deal with some of those aspects, but I think we also need to advocate to the province to actually take responsibility for the root causes of what is leading to that homelessness, whether it is, the trauma suffered, in childhood or other areas. We do have a large Indigenous population that has had that generational trauma. We've also got, concerns with our justice system, and where people are being, released out into the community from jails. We've got the most institutions in around Edmonton. I can't remember off the top of my head, 8 or 9, and so people are just being released back into the community without any supports. And then those supports include mental health, and I think that's something that is starting to be acknowledged by many organizations as being important, that we need to take care of people's mental health just as much as we need to take care of their physical health. And if we can, help people with that, then I think we'll be in a better position. So that's, some of the things that we are trying to do. But like I said, we need to address those root causes and move forward from there.
Joanne, thank you. Annie, I know it's on your website. We cannot fix everything overnight, but we can certainly build trust and progress when our tax dollars are visible. Now, in regards to homelessness from encampments, we're talking about encampments now. What are your step-by-step approach from outreach to closure that you think will help keep more homeless people safe? Like, what more can we do from outreach, reaching out to these people in the encampments to actually shutting it down? Because I think the stance of this present council has been these encampments are actually not safe. What are your thoughts around that, Annie?
Yes, housing is really a personal matter to me. I came to Canada under the Live-in Caregiver program, and I know what it means to struggle for stability. And today, too many Edmontonians face that same uncertainty. Homelessness is a real issue right now. And for me, I'll fight for mixed income developments and, you know, deeply affordable units in every new build. And I will support indigenous-led housing initiatives, which I think it has been started right now, and recognizing that you know, I think 60% of Edmonton's unhoused population identifies as indigenous, and I'll push for rent relief and income-based tax adjustments, so no one is taxed so much out of their home. And with regards to our indigenous support, that indigenous-led shelters and traditional spaces, it should be designed with cultural healing at the core, because mental health also relates to losing your own home and being homeless. And I'll advocate for direct indigenous involvement in housing decisions as outlined in Edmonton's recent agreements, with Treaty 8 First Nations. Yeah. And I'll ensure our ward continues to honor Indigenous history, not just in names, but in action.
Beautiful. Thank you, Annie. All right, Joanne, could I ask you what you did to support seniors during your time? And if there are any plans to help seniors deal with the rise in property taxes? So here's the question. What's your plan to expand programs for seniors who are struggling at the moment? Is there any such plan?
Well, actually, as I mentioned earlier, we can only determine property taxes based on the assessed value of a property. So, a senior that's been living in their home for 30 or 40 or 50 years, of course, values were much less when they originally purchased. And so there is nothing that we can do on an income-based approach. It is only on the independently assessed value of the property. But the province does have a program, which is a tax deferral program for seniors. And what that does is it allows them to defer their property taxes. A lien is placed on their property, and then paid off, from sale of the property. There is an interest charge that the province charges as well. So again, that's something, that the province would need to look at if they want to adjust that program. Having worked in financial services for nearly 30 years, I do recognize that people don't want to encumber their property. They like it to be free and clear. So that they can leave it as a legacy to their children or grandchildren. And I totally understand that. My parents were the same way. But if you're struggling to make payments, it might be something that you want to look at. Another option is to do a reverse mortgage or an equity takeout on your property to help make those payments on for your property tax. And I know that doesn't sit well with a lot of seniors, but if if it is something you want to stay in your home, there are options available to you.
All right. Thank you, Joanne. Thank you very much. All right, Annie, you have alluded to the fact that you've come to the city as an immigrant under the caregiver program. So surely, like you've also alluded to, you know how it feels to be new in an environment. So could you share with us your thoughts around how you would improve the service you got? Are there any such service for newcomers? Um, how would you help newcomers like yourself to integrate better? What sort of service did you maybe receive, and how can that be funded in a way that is sustainable for Edmonton?
Thank you for T for that question. Yes, when I first came here, uh, first thing I wanted to go is to the library because the library is, it opens a lot of things to learn about Canada, about Edmonton, or about the city, and what what I could, apply to myself as well as to those people who, along with me, came here as a new immigrant. And so, with that, um, to become a counselor is a privilege, really, and I could humbly say that it will be the first for our community to be the voice in the city. And some proposals I have also discussed with our community. One thing is the for new immigrants to get to know the city well, uh, go to public transit. That's the first thing I did. I went around the city, but those times um, LRT is not uh, visible at that time, and I need to go on buses at each routes. I need to go, so I would learn about the city. And when it comes to winter, it was a shock for me because it's the first time from tropical country moving to a winter place. So that's really harsh. But anyway, one proposal that I would like to implement is for new immigrants for fare-free public transit. You know, and really it encourages independence and mobility, and reduces financial burden for newcomers, and promotes lifelong transit use. Reduces car dependency, wherein when you're a new immigrant, you can't get new car. You can't. You don't have the license yet. You have to study. Those sort of things. And of course, a lot of things that we needed to improve when it comes to getting the new immigrants to learn the city, the job that they're going into, and um, create more awareness on around the city, especially where the transit areas are. LRT, Edmonton LRT, it's a good resource for those new immigrants.
All
Uh,
right. Thank you. Thank you, Annie. Thank you. Let's move to another segment now where we talk about the local economy and small business. So, Joanne, and I want to focus first on nighttime economy. What is the one low-cost action you can make to make shopping in the evening in our main streets feel safer and a bit more vibrant? Is this something you looked at maybe during your time, the nighttime economy? And what are your thoughts around making it safer for everybody?
Yeah, I think the best way to make communities safe is to create sort of vibrancy, to get more people into the community. So if we're looking at, for instance, like the downtown core, I've heard from residents out here that they don't want to go to the downtown core, not just for safety, but they feel that they can access some of what they need in our our surrounding area here. But so one way to increase the vibrancy downtown is not necessarily to get people going back to work Monday to Friday, 8 till 4 or whatever. It's to actually create or increase the community around there and getting residents in, and on a 24/7 basis. And so I think by helping to encourage increased housing and density within the downtown core, that will help create that stability of safety going forward. So that is something that, like I said, that our council has been working on and continue to be working on. We're looking at a proposal coming to council next week for an incentivizing student housing in the downtown core in around the McEwen and Northwest College spaces. So that is something that is being considered. And then, as far as, and then having people down there on a regular, consistent basis, then that will encourage business to come. If they know that they're going to have a steady stream of customers, they'll be more encouraged then to start bringing their business back into downtown.
All right, thank you. Annie, are you able to approach that same question, but not focusing on the downtown core area, the rest of Edmonton, that need to, what ideas would you do to keep people safe whilst you're trying to boost the nighttime economy, but you're not going to focus on Edmonton downtown as you answer?
Okay. I believe that crime and safety is number one priority, or in my platform. Increase policing in areas that a dense area where people normally go, public transit, so many areas, not the downtown. Okay, we're not focusing on that one. For that matter, more lighting and cameras around that area as well, so that we would avoid all those unnecessary crime, especially on those bus stops, and parks and other places where people would go. And right now, one concern that I heard from community in my ward is the break-ins and theft going around. And so with that, I believe one of the solutions is to get that neighborhood watch go back again, so that people will become more aware of what's happening around the area, and so that they won't be afraid to report to the police. We need to encourage them. We need to educate them and make sure that they are also safe when they are reporting those crimes that's going around. So I think that would be my best solution for that crime and safety.
Thank you very much, Annie. I just wonder from your side, but Joanne and Annie, I need you to know I reached out to all the candidates. I know, Joanne, you mentioned this is Ladies Corner. Have I only invited the ladies? No, I reached out to everybody. If you watched the forum we did last night, everyone showed up. I don't know why Imran Bashir, Steve Van Diaz, Sequindar, and Howard and Hammond Candle, I cannot explain for maybe they are not checking their emails. I do not know, but I just want to say thank you. I hope you feel you've had the opportunity to bring things across. I feel a bit better actually listening to you, Joanne, that the decisions you made during your time were not carelessly made. hearing your point of view is informative for me. At the point, I was really following this counsel, but after a while, I just dropped it because it was a bit cumbersome, right? We're an independent media. We're not funded by anybody. I have to put food on my table. I've got a minor as well to deal with, and I cannot do this sort of work voluntary for the rest of my life. So my attention span was distracted at some point. So I'm only maybe trying to get back to my understanding. So I appreciate your answers. I do, and it gives me an insight to why, for example, the property taxes, how that happened, why, for example, you've come to some of the decisions you've come to. Now we're going to have a final segment. This is a rapid fire segment. You both have not seen my questions beforehand. You don't know what I will ask you. So, okay. So the rule here is just say yes or no with 10-second justification. So I'm going to start with, who was the last person now? Was that Annie or Joanne? I can't remember.
I think it was Annie.
It was Annie. Okay, so Joanne, it's just the two of you. I start with you. Yes or no? 10 seconds justification. Would you support piloting 24/7 washrooms in the parks within your wards?
Yes, if funding was available and finding funding.
Beautiful. Annie, would you support publishing counselor's office expenses monthly? Publishing counselor office expenses monthly. Did you get that?
Yes.
Okay. Would you support that? Yes or no?
Yes.
Oh, beautiful. Annie, would you support freezing property taxes if you were re-elected?
Yes.
Oh, no. Oh, I said Annie. I meant Joanne. But thank you, Annie. Thank you, Annie. Joanne is still answered, though. Would you support?
Sorry, did you say increase property taxes? No, right?
Freezing.
Freezing,
So
yeah, freezing, yes.
So Annie says, yeah. Joanne, what say you?
No, no, I cannot commit to that because that would mean cutting services again, and we can't do that to Edmontonians.
Okay. Do you feel, Annie, that unemployment is at its peak in Edmonton? Yes or no?
Yes, I believe so, because based on statistics.
Okay. Thank you very much. Annie, would you support expanding missing middle zoning or more collector roads in Sspomitapi? Yes or no?
Sorry, are you asking me?
No.
Oh, sorry.
I meant Joanne. I said Annie. Oh, Annie, your name is so nice to call. Joanne, forgive me. Joanne is going to say I'm partial now.
You can call me Joannie if you want.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, would I support missing middle roads?
Middle zoning on more collector roads.
Oh, yes. I think what you're sort of asking is the missing middle, making sure that we're increasing density on collector. Yeah. Yes, I would. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Finally, Annie, would you support a city-backed pay-as-you-serve loan for home owners in Sspomitapi or across Edmonton? Yes or no?
You say loan for home?
Yeah, pay-as-you-save loan for homeowners. Would you support a city-backed pay-as-you-save loan for homeowners? Or you can just say, I don't know.
No and yes, because it all depends on the city. The city will give. It depends. I don't. We'll have to look into that. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I can answer that.
Joanne, would you say the anti-racism efforts in Edmonton has been successful? Yes or no?
Yes, I think we've made some inroads, but I think there's a lot more we need to do.
All right. So that wraps up that section. I hope you found it. I should have maybe got like 20 questions. That was fun for me, at least, because I'm the one on the. All right. Now, it takes us to our closing comments. Who would like to go first? Annie, would you
Sure,
like
I
to go?
can.
Oh, John, you'd like to go first? Okay. So you've got 2 minutes to make a case for why you need 4 more years. What do you need to go finish?
Well, I appreciate having had the privilege of representing residents of Ward Sspomitapi for the past 4 years. It's been quite a learning curve. There has been challenges along the way, as I've mentioned, and I think there is so much more that I and we as a council need to do moving forward. We've made progress in regards to crime reduction. Crime stats have actually gone down, and although the perception of crime it is still out there, and so we have made efforts, like I said, in increasing our transit peace officers, also working as I have with the Edmonton Police Commission as one of the commissioners over the past couple of years, trying to build that relationship and trust, not only with the service but with Edmontonians as well. And other, we've, as far as the rest of public safety goes, improving the traffic safety on our roads through our Vision Zero, and just increasing the overall vibrancy of our neighborhoods. The more people are out and about, feeling safe in their neighborhoods, the safer the neighborhood becomes. And I think it's so important to invest in core services, invest in our public employees that help deliver those core services. Without them, and without showing how we value them, we wouldn't be able to do what we can do. And again, with financial sustainability, looking at not just today costs, but also planning for the future. And that could be, that goes along with our zoning bylaw renewal. That goes with increasing the density in our neighborhoods to increase property taxes overall, so that everybody is paying a little less share of the pie. And but while still maintaining those services and programs that Edmontonians expect and rely upon. I think we also need to look at, and I don't know if we focus too much on responsible development, things like our complete streets design, and then also our substantial completion. We need to look at building up rather than out, stop this urban sprawl. It is, it's way too expensive to create and maintain the infrastructure that's needed to continue building south of 41st Avenue. And then I think, bringing all that together, I think make sure that we are building strong communities and that we're connecting people. I think one of the greatest achievements that I've had is connecting the seniors group, the Mabuhay Park Technical Working Group, the Laurel Community League, bringing them together with through our neighborhood resource coordinator David Fletcher, and working towards that community-led construction project at Mabuhay Park.
John, you've spoken very wisely. I got more today, an insight into your mind, and I'm so grateful you chose to come. Thank you so very much, Joanna. I appreciate.
I appreciate the opportunity, T. Thank you for inviting me.
And I just want you to know, many times you probably won't hear it enough, but thank you for your service. Thank you for the work you've done for the city of Edmonton. Many of us who know the challenges you face, and you've alluded to that here. And many of us stand here, oh no, they didn't, but we're grateful. We're grateful. And I know you don't hear this often, so thank you very much. All right. We'll give Annie the floor to make her closing statement.
Thank you so much, T, and thank you for Ladies Corner for inviting me in this good opportunity to share my views and why I'm running to become a counselor for Ward Sspomitapi. I've seen the power of community, neighbors helping neighbors, people showing up for each other, and the way shared culture can bring us together. And that's what inspired me. I've been part of this ward long enough to know that when we work together, we can solve real problems and build something better. My personal journey has been shaped by community engagement. And one of the success that I had was collaborating with different organizations in order to make sure that the Mabuhay Park, which is the first Filipino park, um, will will run smoothly up to now. Um, and the naming itself has been a big success. I've volunteered, organized, and listened to folks from all walks of life, whether it was helping plan a local event or advocating for safer streets or just chatting with someone at some bus stop. And I've learned that leadership isn't about being the loudest voice. It's about being the most present and most action oriented. I led by listening, by collaborating, and by making sure people feel seen and heard. I believe in building trust through action, and I'm committed to creating spaces where everyone, feels like they belong. Our world is rich in culture, resilience, and heart. And I want to make sure that it's reflected in the decisions that we make and the future we build together. I'm running for city council because I believe Wars Pomitapi deserves a representative who listens deeply, acts boldly, and leads with heart. My journey has been shaped by community, by people who've supported me, challenged me, and inspired me to serve. Living here, I saw firsthand how local decisions impact everyday lives, whether it ac- was access to public transit or safe neighborhood or inclusive spaces. I learned that real change starts at the municipal level. Over the years, I've worked alongside diverse communities, advocated for equity, and built coalition that reflects voices often left out of the conversation. So I will be that voice in city council. So my leadership style is rooted in empathy, collaboration, and accountability. I listen, I show up, I ask questions, and I make space for others to speak. I believe in transparent decision making and in building trust through action, not just words. So this campaign isn't just about me, it's about all of us. It's about creating a ward, Spomitapi, where everyone feels seen, heard, and empowered. I've practiced the word Spomitapi many times. It's so hard to pronounce that at first.
Oh,
So, yeah,
happy.
that is my vision for Edmonton. Thank you so much again, T.
All right, Annie, that was beautiful. I've been on your website. You do have some very practical ideas. You describe yourself as a proud Filipino, Canadian, and Edmontonian. And what I say is, may the best candidate win. You come, you bring a beautiful array of ideas. And Johan also she's the incumbent. May the best candidate is down to the constituents now. And my job as LCC Media Community media is to provide this opportunity, really. And I hope I've given Annie and Joanne the opportunity to let other people know you. This will not be your last candidate forum, I don't think, but at least it's giving you an opportunity to get ahead of the race and share your ideas with people in your word. My name is Tia Adeyemo. I'm the curator for the website ladiescorner.ca. You're watching on our YouTube channel, LCC Media One. You do well to like and subscribe to the channel. At 12 o'clock, we have a candidate forum for Ward Task to Winiwak, and we hope to see you then. Thank you again, Joanne, for joining, and Annie, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
It's a pleasure.
All right, then. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you for coming. End stream. End stream. End stream. Oh, still live.